Okay, so you're probably wondering why I have some scales in my hand. So as you know, over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to be performing lots of different objective assessments that I can use to set baseline data to track my fitness journey over the next few months. Today, we're going to start with some anthropometric measurements, and we're also going to have a look at some written outcome measures. So the first anthropometric measurement we're going to look at is obviously weight. Pretty important when we're talking about fitness goals. And so for me, look, I'm not necessarily looking to put on any weight or lose any weight, but it's nice to have an objective measurement on this to start. And I'm going to guess, even before having a look at these scales, it's going to be about 66 kilos. I know what you're thinking, you're a big unit. So standing at 5'6" or 166 centimetres on my way in today at, as expected, 66 kilos. So we can track that over the next 3 or 4 months as my journey progresses. Next thing we're going to look at is got my favourite tape measure here. We're going to start to look at some girth measurements. Now there would have been a period of time where this wouldn't have fit around these guns, but unfortunately over the last 3 or 4 years, unfortunately, as I said, I lost a bit of strength, lost a little bit of muscle size as well. So we're going to look to put some of that back on over the next few months. But some of the measurements we'll look at, particularly around, if you remember from the video yesterday, the ankle sprains that I've had, we're going to have a look at measurements of around the calf. We're going to look at several points in the thigh. So we're going to look at just superior to patella, we're going to look at mid-thigh, and then we're going to look at upper thigh. I'm going to take some waist girth measurements, some chest, as well as maybe I'll sneak a few little bicep and arm measurements in there as well. Now the reason I've got my trusty MacBook Pro here is, as I mentioned, we're going to start to look at some written outcome measures. Really useful to use with your patients and clients to set baseline data around many different things that allows you to then track over time. It works really well and complements the objective tests that we're going to use later on in the series. But today I've gone ahead and I've completed the International Physical Activity Questionnaire. So this is a really useful questionnaire just to gauge how active an individual is in their day-to-day life. Now, I think most people when they talk to me, when they look at me, they think, oh, he's pretty active, he's a pretty fit individual. It's a little bit of a shock even to myself when I started to complete this questionnaire and I started to see actually how little activity I do during the day. So given that most of my job now is actually done at home, so I'm working from home, as I mentioned, I've stopped seeing patients and clients at the minute. And part of that means I don't really leave the house, and I literally don't leave the chair often for 10 hours each day. So that's something that I'm going to really need to focus on over the next 3 to 4 months to try and work out ways to get some of that incidental activity into my day-to-day routine. I was also quite surprised to see, actually transport-wise, very, very little. So I'm only doing probably 2 hours over the course of a week in regards to transportation. And obviously I'm taking the car everywhere. Even though the Injury Rehab Centre, our home base here for Matt, is literally 1.1 kilometres from my home, generally I always take the car. So I'm going to make a note of that. When I do come down to the clinic to see the team, then I'm going to make sure that I use my feet and come and run down there. Hope to clock in a few extra Ks in the week and get a bit more active in my day. So when we have a look at the results for the International Physical Activity Questionnaire that I've just completed, and we look at the normative data, I'd actually be classified as moderately inactive in my day-to-day life out of the 4 categories. So we've got inactive, moderately inactive, so I'm actually the second lowest category there. The moderately active and the active. Now the only thing that's keeping me in the moderately inactive is that I've been getting into the gym here. You see we've got a great facility here at the Injury Rehab Centre and doing a 1 hour session 3 to 4 times a week. Those sessions haven't been high quality sessions, so that's something that I'm going to need to look at. But I think compared to the general population, when we look actually at the data from this questionnaire, a lot of people in my age group actually fall into the moderately active or active groups. So actually I'm falling behind the general population where I should be the one leading the way. So this is going to be a huge focus for me in going forward in 2019. And now that I've got some of this data, it's actually opened my eyes up to some of the things that I need to change already, even before I collect some of the active data around my aerobic fitness, which I must admit I'm not looking forward to. So tune back in tomorrow. We're going to start to have a look at some MAT assessments. We're going to look at some range of motion tests, especially around that troublesome ankle of mine. And we're also then going to have a look at my balance proprioception with the Star Excursion balance test. Look forward to seeing you then.